Did Ricardo call?
No.
Okay, Monica is not coming in
Oh, we need to
today.
excuse Marie.
For Ricardo?
Marie. We need to
Oh, yes. Hip surgery. All right, so at this point, I'd like to open up the Ballpark City Council special meeting. Today's November the 6th, 2019, and the time is 5:31. At this point, we'll go ahead and take a roll call.
Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco.
Should be with us shortly.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Monica Garcia.
Excuse, she won't be attending.
And Mayor Daniel Lozano.
Present. Thank you. All right. At this point, we'll go to the open session, which is the downtown beautification presentation presented by Mr. Sam Rivera. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and
Yes, sir.
Councilman. So, tonight's presentation is just a follow-up from a previous presentation we did to the council before, where we are presenting a downtown beautification project that includes direction from council on several items. I'm going to start with a recap of items that we have previously gotten direction from council, just to remind everyone where we're at on those items. Then I'm going to ask our consultant to come in and talk about the remaining items. So, just to remind everyone, this project focuses in the downtown area from La Rica to Downing along Ramona, and from Maine from Bogart all the way up to Los Angeles. So that's the area where all of these downtown beautification improvements are going to be in. The biggest component, the flagship component of this project, is the intersection of Ramona and Maine. As we know, these have been up for a very long time. We asked council how they felt about it, and we provided some samples, and we got some direction. So, based on council direction, this is what we came up with. We're pretty much ready to go with these. I have material samples that I want to pass around. We have two versions of the dark bronze.
Very nice. Yes. Wow.
So we're going with the oil rub dark bronze.
And this is
So that's a powder coated
this is two
dark
options.
bronze. Yeah, so those are the two options. And right now we're thinking of going with the oil rub
This one?
dark bronze. No, the smaller one.
Oh, this.
Yeah, it has a texture to it. So the color's dark bronze, and it's pretty much going to look black when it's installed. It'll be pretty much dark bronze. Now, I do want to draw your attention to the base of the poles. We challenged our consultants and vendors to come up with something new, and that'll be a Southern California first. So no other city will have that.
Nice banners.
These are the crosswalks that we previously gotten directions on. Just kind of wanted to show them to you that this is sort of what's going to be out there. This is going to go at the intersections of Cesar Chavez and Ramona, and Maine and Ramona, and Bogart and Ramona. So
Are we doing
3
both
consecutive
styles?
intersections. No, we're going to do one style, but this is the type
The
of
left
just
side.
kind of showing it.
You know what? Too bad we couldn't get like Ramona, Puerto Rico, but section where we had the X so you could cross either way.
Oh,
Oh,
diagonal.
Probably doesn't work for such a big street, right?
Right, yeah, so
I'm just curious.
yeah. But we can look at it. If
All right,
that's-
okay.
And then these are the monument signs that were
Oh, wow.
previously.
Very nice.
So this is going to go around various locations citywide. So that's it. That's what we've gotten direction. We're ready to go with these. As soon as we get direction on the remaining items, we can move forward with the project and start putting it in place.
Hey, there's Ben.
Hey, man.
Hey, Ben.
Sam, can you mention, and maybe you're going to, but mention if they concur with everything tonight, what the schedule is to
Absolutely.
go out to bid and have this completed?
Absolutely. And we can go over that. I'm going to let our guys come in and talk about the remaining items, and I'll come back and talk about that timeline.
Okay. Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I
all you have to do.
Very nice, I know.
Sure.
Look at that. Gene, what do you think? Can you give one of the old ones?
Minute warning, and I'll give
Is
you
it
a
right?
minute.
Give one of
sure.
the old, go pose the old.
Thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
good evening.
We're going to go over some other items, including curb ramps and sidewalks. Sidewalk extensions, we're showing the locations on the left side of where that's going to happen. That on the bottom you see Ramona Boulevard, and then that vertical street is Main Avenue. So we're showing these three items here, and they're typical. So they're going to happen everywhere that we're going to do the downtown beautification project at. But there are three different locations three different situations that are happening, and then we're going to talk about them on the next slide. One is where we have Ramona and Main, and we're going to present the curbside and the sidewalk to be treated as a concrete sidewalk with new decorative traffic signal pole that's going to be there, and then we're going to have interlocking concrete pavers, and also it's going to be a colored concrete type paving at that section over there. But that will happen on all four sides of this intersection.
Very nice.
We could have advantage of extending this corner a little bit, so then we can have more sidewalk at the corner, and we're going to have the bollards to protect people walking there, and with that kind of graphic.
Yeah, so what we're presenting here is that right now the sidewalk is not as wide as what's shown on this drawing. It's very narrow. Now we're extending it towards the street because we've done some traffic analysis, and we do have the capability of expanding it towards the street a little bit. That will make that turn from Ramona Street to Main Street actually a better turn, and then we also get more sidewalk.
Wow, that's gonna be very nice. Now, so that's applicable here on Main and Ramona.
Yeah,
We're not doing anything over there on Ballpark Boulevard and Ramona.
We're not doing that yet.
that's not a
Future.
part of our.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
that's
curious.
not the part of the downtown beautification
Okay.
project.
Is that where the Bank of America is?
Yes.
That
Yes, it
particular
is.
corner?
Exactly.
So moving to the next one, this is up in Main Street, or Main Avenue. We're basically doing the same thing. We're expanding the sidewalk a little bit there. We're relocating. Is that the fire hydrant?
Yeah, one of the fire hydrant will be relocated. So basically, in that location, we are losing one parking, and the other one we are going to extend the sidewalk. Then we can have advantage of putting the bench, trash can, and some paving around that area with the treadle and the other things.
So we're basically expanding the sidewalk again, kind of getting the same theme of Ramona and Main in there with the paving that we're going to do with the colored concrete that we're going to put in there. And we're adding benches so that people can hang out there. So it'll bring some life into the sidewalk, because the sidewalk there is not as wide as it should be for a downtown profile.
Sure.
And this is another curb ramp that we're going to design for, and this could be applied everywhere depending on what budget we're going to have. But right now, we're considering it on Main Street, and basically the Main and where?
Main Street and Palm Avenue.
And Palm, yeah. So we're going to have a 5-foot minimum sidewalk that's going to get the colored concrete type paving, and then you're going to have your curb ramp with truncated domes for your crosswalk. And we're again improving the curb, expanding the sidewalk so that the turning radius would be fixed as well.
And this could apply in anything that will be similar to this condition in other intersection throughout that street.
Very good. Very nice.
Great. Next one is going to be the wayfinding signs. We're providing you with 3 options here. Whichever option that you're going to pick is going to be the option that we're going to design it to.
Okay, so this,
It's kind of it goes with the concrete pavement, that had some circle design and theme to it.
Actually, the third one resembles the old one that we had here, because that's the way it was.
Yeah.
A huge sign on it.
So maybe
Is that the council's preference, option 3?
Oh no, I'm just saying.
Right, or?
What do you guys think?
The 3 I like.
Is that-
The third one, the first one looks like a for a splash pool or something. For a theme park. I like it, but I think I like option 3 myself.
It kind of resembles, Gene, I don't know if you were around that time. The old sign that they had, and it kind of went like that type of shape.
I don't remember.
You don't? No. Then we'll have to get pictures of that.
Well, I go with option 3, whatever you guys think.
In other words, it was like, and then you had the big sign. Do you remember that, Gene? Okay. Do you remember the bowling alley? Okay.
So Mayor, you want to make a choice
Yeah,
now?
that's where they had one too.
Yeah, we would like direction tonight. If everybody concurs, we'll go with number 3.
Number 3.
Okay.
I'm good with 3.
Yeah, 3.
so number 3 it is. Okay. And then the
Oh, wow.
benches and the bike racks. So the benches, we have 2 options for you. One is, option number 2 is already existing in some parts of Ramona and Main Avenue on the new development side.
By the Rome project, so they're right in front of.
The one. Okay, yes.
So we can either match that so that everywhere is kind of the same furniture, or we can go with option 1. Option 1 goes with option 2 as well, but it's just a nicer look option.
Which one?
To my opinion, option 1 would go with all these.
Does it matter? What do you guys
I
want?
like option 1.
I like option 1 too.
You're on a roll.
Tipper.
Keep going.
If you come back to the previous slide, I will change your mind to the option 2.
So option 1, it is. Okay.
And what color is that?
Sorry.
Is it the same color as the light poles? Or what?
Yeah, we're gonna match the light poles.
Okay.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right.
Okay, and the bike racks, since everything that we have so far designed on the landscape, on the pavement, and on the signs are going to have some sort of a circle to them, we decided to pick something that's kind of like round shape. You have, again, 3 options here. Option number 3 has been already used. That's an existing picture from, again, Ramona Street, or Boulevard, and so whichever one that you guys pick.
I like option 2 for a couple of reasons. One, it's just clean, and then 2, it's stainless steel, so the graffiti and etching and stuff won't be seen as much compared to the.
What's the option 2? Which one? The bottom? Top?
Bottom one. It's hard to see.
Bottom
Okay,
Yeah,
this
bottom
is straight
middle.
ahead?
Yeah. The tunnel
Bottom
of
middle.
love.
Yeah. Tunnel of love. That looks nice.
Yeah, I go with option 2. If you guys like
And you're right, probably better for graffiti removal, I guess.
it. Option 2?
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, that's fine.
Oh, that's very good job.
Paul's a bike person,
Good job,
so
man.
he knows.
Right back there.
Thank you.
Thank
Right
you.
All right, I'll give it back to Sam, I guess, if you guys have any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Sam, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
When you move forward with just, you come back to council, I think you have direction, just.
Absolutely. So first off, I want to thank the council. Thank you for your direction. We really needed to get the direction to move the project forward. So just to talk a little bit of the timeline. So this is going to be moved forward in 3 projects. The first project, since the 2 lights are already well ahead, we're envisioning starting in January, installing all of the street lights for that. Then in December, we're expecting the state to approve our allocation for the authorization to start construction. So we'll bid out that project hopefully around February or March and start construction in March for that.
That's
So-
the second part?
Yeah, that's the second part. And then
How long is that construction?
so that construction is going to be 4 months.
Which part is that? Just, sorry.
That is the, they were talking about the sidewalk
Sidewalk,
extensions and curbs and it incorporates the benches and the bike racks.
Done by July.
And done by July.
Oh, wow, that's pretty quick.
So the only one that we haven't started design on is in the traffic signals, but now that we have direction on the poles, we're going to turn it over to the engineering firm to start the design for that. So hopefully we can get them all done around the same time. So
That would
we're
be nice.
thinking by summer of next year, we'll have all of these improvements in.
Okay, cool. That'd be nice.
Will that, and that's prior to the conference that we do?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We have to make sure it's
That's a
done
good
by
point.
then.
Ceremony.
Right.
project.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, we're trying, not the concerts in the park per
The
se,
concerts on the street.
but,
But, street
but
market.
street market fair, yeah,
That's
that
the
is
goal.
our hard deadline, so we want to be done before that.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise it will interrupt.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, all right, so at this point, we're going to the next item that we have here, which is the rent stabilization presentation presented by City Attorney Robert Tafoya and Director of Community Development, Mr. Benjamin Martinez. Is that the one you're rolling, right?
Yeah.
I forgot the.
And then you're doing the one over there probably, right? All right, so this is.
Nichols had it now.
Huh?
Nichols had it.
Okay. All right. So this was also requested by Councilmember. Hold on. Let me just where. Oh, it's not in here. Oh, yours is going to be downstairs. Though.
Where's this downstairs?
Yes.
Oh, that's what I was
Yes.
wondering. Okay, alrighty. Okay. So Paul Hernandez is this is one of his projects that he requested from me. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members.
No,
This is the,
special.
well, this PowerPoint is related to the draft rent stabilization ordinance that we sent to you. So we're really, more at a kind of a discussion level here as the first draft. I'll go through quickly the PowerPoint presentation related. I think we all know the purpose of this rent stabilization ordinance. We know that the growing shortage of housing units, low vacancy rates, land speculation, rising rents, all these things are contributing to a serious problem of housing, not only here in Baldwin Park, but throughout our state and our nation. These conditions endanger public health and welfare of tenants, especially the poor, minorities, students, young families, and senior citizens. And the purpose of this ordinance is to alleviate these hardships and regulate rents in the city of Baldwin Park. Immediate temporary rent freeze on rents at their current rate during the 120-year period, 120-day period would be one of the main features. After the adoption of the ordinance, no landlord shall charge rent for any controlled rental units in an amount greater than the rent in effect on the date 1 year prior to the adoption of this ordinance, what we call the base rent ceiling. 3% is the ceiling, the base rent ceiling, 3% per 12-month period. Okay, the consumer price index, that's what could be, that's what it would be allowed to be increased only by the maximum. The landlord is required to post these things, this information, in a prominent place in the apartment, in the apartment buildings. Other features: relocation payments will be made to displaced tenants by landlords due to a unit not being approved or in violation of municipal code. Landlords can petition City Council to make a determination of fair and reasonable rent if he or she is operating in a negative cash flow situation. Landlords cannot raise rents if they are not in compliance with any provisions of this ordinance or with any applicable state or local housing, health, and safety laws. And evictions, there's a very detailed section in the ordinance, but here for the purposes of the presentation, I say that evictions are highly restricted unless, again, for some of the most basic things like a tenant fails to pay rent or causes substantial damages to the apartment or something like that. Under petitions, the city will create rules and regulations to govern the hearings for appeals of rent adjustments above the ceiling if needed. Hearing examiner will be the CEO or his designee, and these meetings would be open to the public. The hearing examiner decisions may be appealed to the city council, is what we're talking about right now. Final action, whatever the case, final action must be taken on any of these rent adjustments within 120 days following the date of the filing of the petition. So we don't want to sit on something forever. We want to try to go through these transactions, these situations as quickly as possible. Pass-through surcharges have been discussed. Upon written request, the City Council may approve pass-through of surcharges up to 50% of expense in form of rent increases over a 5-year period, and also for common area and capital improvements. Upon written request, the City Council may approve a pass-through of 1% of gas and electric expense over a 12-month period in the form of a rent increase if the landlord pays the total amount of the gas and electric bill for the tenants for the building. And landlords can also petition the CEO for a just cause rent increase above 3%. But these of course, all these situations would have to be done in writing, it would have to be a fairly detailed analysis that would be not only looked at by staff, the legal staff, but also probably a consultant that would specialize in this area. So this presentation highlighted some of the larger, portions of the RSO. There's a lot more to it. But that's kind of the highlights. We also wanted to just quickly talk about registration fees, relocation, and moving expenses. So, just to mention on registration fees, staff did run some preliminary numbers. We don't think it's necessary to show you them tonight because they're so preliminary. You don't want to start to throw numbers out there that people get concerned about, but potentially upwards of $25, perhaps $30 per unit for a registration fee. Okay, this would include staff, attorney, perhaps some consulting fees, and when we're reviewing all of these situations. Okay. And as far as relocation and
before you move from registration, can you give them an idea of what the other cities are charging? I think Pasadena or LA.
They do vary. The larger the city and the more units, the fees kind of go down. Right? We're a smaller city. It's hard to compare us to Santa Monica, but this is just kind of a very rough draft of what we're looking at right now for our city. And then, but they're around that range. They're around the range of what we're talking about. And this is the moving expenses. So, I would say on the registration fees, we're not trying to adopt this thing tonight, so maybe give staff a little bit more time to work on that, but I think we're closing in on a number that makes sense.
On the fees, we can only charge what expenses we incur. We can only recoup costs. So we'll have to do a study to determine what the maximum fee could be, and then the city council can set that fee at that amount or lower if they choose.
You got one? Here. You have an extra one?
Yeah, he's got that one. He came into my office and helped Mr. Mayor. Oh, so regarding relocation and moving expense allowances, you see here 3 situations from allowances and fees from the City of Los Angeles, Santa Monica, and Pasadena. Right now, I would say our RSO is mirroring more the Los Angeles situation. Is that, Robert? And that's kind of what we're sort of mirroring. Yeah. So we could. I think this is just good to kind of look at right now. None of them are drastically different, and we can do some more analysis and maybe even talk to these cities to see their personal sort of experiences with these figures, but needless to say, all these are good protections for situations when tenants, are relocate or have to move.
And Santa Monica's a stickler, isn't it?
Yeah, they're
Dang. You're
Yeah,
probably gonna-
Santa Monica's
Wow.
been in this business for a long time, right?
Wow.
So,
But look at those numbers.
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So Pasadena would probably be the lowest. Is that what I'm seeing here? Or no? Am I wrong?
Well,
actually Pasadena.
Right? So they're okay. So they're saying the landlord shall pay a relocation. Okay, that's equal to 2% a month fair market rent as established by HUD. Landlord shall also pay moving expenses in the amount of $1,306 for adult household or $393. That's interesting. Okay. But what did you say, Sam, about that?
It's 2.5 months.
Oh, 2.5 months. Thank you. So we're going to be looking at this now. First of all, this is going to be even better than what the governor is asking, right? That he's proposing.
If you don't mind, I think is thank you very much, man. So the approach to this is it's very comprehensive. It gives a lot more protection to our renters here in Baldwin Park because right now there's a little bit of lack of protection for them. So if they need, they have to simply go to the county or go through things on the civil matter.
Right.
What this does for us as a city, again, like I talked to you, it provides pass-through processes of fees. What it does for that is it encourages and incentivizes property owners to invest in their property, because otherwise, what's the incentive, right? It's been proven in Los Angeles that's a piece that we certainly took from that. The other part is there's protection not only for extreme protections for the renters, but primarily it's looking at apartment dwellers, which is the vast majority of the folks that are actually being targeted for this. So there is a lot of stuff that we've excluded. This essentially is for apartment buildings, and that's close to about 3,000, a little bit about 3,000 or 2,900 units that this would only affect. So if you multiply that by we just say three to or 3.4 people that live in the household here in Baldwin Park, we're looking at close to anywhere between 9,000 to 10,000 just on a conservative level that would be provided some protection. What it also does is it provides some ability for staff to go after landlords in a manner that we haven't been able to do so in the past. So Ben's staff would be the ones essentially monitoring and going through this process. And with that caveat, what I'll say is, I did speak with staff about this. We went through this for quite some time. So the draft ordinance was provided to you in advance. Is a draft. I'd like for us to review that and hopefully adopt that for our permanent resolution to complement the temporary item that Alejandra has. Unlike Alejandra's, this is again speaks strictly towards apartment units. Again, because there are a couple, we have a couple laws in the state. And as Robert has said, stated to me, is the state provided a template, but local governments can go above and beyond than what they're asking. The one thing that's also in here is the rent increase. It's a little bit, I believe, more reasonable for our renters because what it, as Ben stated earlier, is it does provide essentially two scales for property owners to increase their rent. No more than 3% on an annual basis. There is a method for them, for property owners to go to a council, to go through a process to seek fair and reasonable rents, if that's the case. So it's not to be heavy-handed to the business community, but also make sure that unlike the LA County's interim rent stabilization ordinance, they go much higher in their rent increases. So this is based on a much lower percentage because the reality is I don't know most of us around the room here, but can't imagine that we all get a 3 or a 5 or even an 8% cost of living increase in our paychecks every year. So that was certainly taken into account as we're working through staff in this process.
Yes.
Thank you, Ben, for this presentation. I'm actually very excited. I remember when I just got elected, I actually brought up the rent freeze, and I was told, no, it can't be done at one of the council meetings, and I have constantly brought it up and continue to bring it up, and I'm so excited that my colleagues are on board and that we're working forward to work with the community. The ideas on here are great. I would like to have community members involved, as well as the parties the parties of interest to be involved as well, so that we can all together make a decision on what's better for Baldwin Park. We do have the rent freeze ordinance on the agenda today because, like I said, I've been bringing it up since I got elected, so I'm very excited that we are moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, so at this point, we're going to look at what the actual cost factor that we're going to do for relocation fees, right? Is that what we're going to be looking at as well, or is that?
That's one of the blanks in the
Right,
ordinance.
right.
We would need a little bit of direction if you want to point us towards one of these.
Yeah,
that
you know
will
what?
help us.
I mean, by looking at this, I would probably have to think that Pasadena's would probably be more equitable towards. I mean, when you look at Santa Monica, boy, that's a major cost factor there. But of course, you know.
And I would agree with you.
You know what I mean? You probably
Pasadena.
Pasadena. I mean, I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys? By looking at
Again, I would like to have community members and more people involved in this to look at everything, because they're the ones that are being affected by this rent increases, so that we can make decisions together. It's a community effort. We're already working on it together, so if we can get the community involved as well in this.
You mean get their
that'd be
input?
great.
Is that what we're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. What are you going to do?
I mean, I'm happy for them to receive input from the community.
Yeah.
I think my only process would be is that they, provide written documentation or call staff in between that, because time is of essence. My hope would be is that we could adopt this, perhaps over the next by first of next year. Because we do need a first and second reading, unless we also want to take the approach that Pasadena just took, I think, last night, where they had an emergency ordinance and they had a meeting on Monday at 7 p.m. and another one at midnight, and those are their two readings.
Was that for their control?
That was there for emergency rent increase.
So I think we're covered if we pass the freeze tonight, and then that gives
Right,
us
it gives us time to work on that.
this.
Exactly.
As Paul mentioned, there'll be a first and second reading. One of those will be a public hearing. So between now and then, there should be plenty of time for the public to provide
meet,
input.
yes, and
speak
that's the
before
idea.
council, or speak at the public hearings.
Everybody should be involved.
Shannon, to answer a question, on the rent freeze, can it be retro to 2 months back?
That's really an attorney question, but I think Robert has looked into that, and the answer is yes, and I think that's what is proposed on the table tonight.
That's correct. Yes, you can do it retroactive. The urgency ordinance that's on tonight, I looked into that about whether or not that would be legal, but it is.
So when you're saying retro, so it goes, let's say, what, 3 months past or more?
I think the suggestion was September 4th,
Oh,
because
got it.
that was the first time it was
Yes,
mentioned
got
at the
it.
city council.
It was officially to be put on agendas on September 4th. I had mentioned it prior meetings, but not official, so we went retro to September 4th.
Okay.
The idea too, because we are in the holiday season, a lot of times, a lot of people get evicted during this time, and we need to protect these families to make sure they're safe in a nice place with their families until we work out the details of what needs to be within our city. Because like Paul said, the state did put an ordinance out there, but it doesn't work for every city, and that's why it's so important that as a city we work together, talk to the residents, what's going on exactly with our residents, so that when we do put it all together, it benefits them and we go forward.
Now, when are the actual owners of those apartments being notified? How are they notified?
Right now, they're not being notified at all.
Right. Because eventually we're going to have to.
Yes, there is a process that we have some of that built in, where not only do we put some of that onus on the property owners for the ordinance, but we also, that's part of the registration fee, that we would then be able to send out notifications to the tenants also. So we would do that, and of course, once it becomes inactive, we put it in the UP now, our social media, and everywhere else.
Yeah, and I understand that we want to set the policy of the hearing, but So is there an official notification that goes out to the owners of the apartments? We're obligated to do that, right? I just want to make certain, because I assume they're going to want to put their input as well.
Sure they will.
So, okay, so I just want to make sure that we're covering 360. And
So,
of course,
doing this, we also need to make sure we protect the property owners as well. So that's why
Yeah.
we need to make sure
Yeah,
we're
that's what I'm
working
saying.
through this and everybody is being protected, the owners as well as the tenants.
So let me ask you. So, will the city go out and inspect some of these apartments? Is that what we're going? Is that part of the plan to look at or not? No. Okay.
Some cities do that, but not.
Yeah, I think that we probably should look at potentially adopting something like that. Give you a good example of an apartment unit that I was at about 3 weeks ago. That they did a phenomenal job. It's right at the end. It's on Puente and Francisquito. Francisco Puente head. I guess it would be not south.
Next to the hospital.
Yeah, next to the hospital. Have you guys been in those places? It's like you have got to take no different than the Badillo Circle apartments that are very well cared for as well. But this one over here, they got like little trails in the backyard, and it's just like very very friendly for the individuals that are. And I don't know what the cost is that particularly. Definitely have to take a tour. Get the management. Why don't we plan a tour, everyone? Got to see that place.
So when working on the ordinance here, we can add a lot of
Hold on.
different things.
The only reason I'm saying that is I think that we should move other apartments in that. Some apartments here in Ballpark, guys.
Yes.
Other cities wouldn't tolerate the way they're set up. Okay.
So all that can be
Yeah.
included.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important that we all talk about it and we have residents come in and give us their testimonies.
Sure.
And work together and put this plan together so that now they're living in a nice place like
Right.
the one you just saw, as well as it's affordable for them.
Okay.
So again,
Sorry about that.
No. This is all great conversation. Love it. So my hope would be is that we could put this, on our next council agenda, and then we could, certainly have the through the community during that process and before, because such similar to yourself and Alejandra and Ricardo and Monica, we've all been having these conversations
Yep.
extensively for quite some time already. So for them, between now and then, it's more about understanding, what pieces would they want to add or change to the draft ordinance that was distributed already. So that would be, I guess, my motion.
So we can hold
Okay,
like this.
all right.
Can we hold like a special meeting just for that? Because I think it's going to be a long meeting. There's going to be a lot of ideas put out there and information brought forward to us.
Sure. Why not?
Whatever's
Okay.
the pleasure.
Hold on. So at this point, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second?
Second. Any objections? See, no.
And the motion is?
So the motion is to pass. Am I correct? To pass the current documents.
Bring it back
Yes.
at the
To
next
bring it
meeting.
back.
Bring it
Yes.
back.
We're going to bring
For
it
the
back.
public
Motion.
input.
Yes. And then public
A
input.
special meeting.
Do you want to spend? Do you want to? So in other words, you want to do like an entire.
I think we need a special meeting. This is.
Huh?
I'm okay with that.
All right, then that's fine. Let's say. Don't. You
The
want
more people the more residents are involved, or community members, they feel like it's a
Then
fair
let-
open process, that we're just not making the decisions because we're not the ones that are renting these apartments or whatever it is that they're living in. They're making decisions because they're bringing the information to us. So let's make them stakeholders and everybody involved.
So here's what we do, and that'll be definitely noted. Let's do it at the council chambers.
Yes.
So figure out a date. This way, at least more comfortable than being up here. Do some of those comments.
And just so I'm
But
clear,
here, yeah.
would that be the first reading?
But
Probably not, because the ordinance has to be ready. You can't substantially change it between the first and second reading. So if you're really getting public input, you could have the special meeting for the public input and then bring it to the next regularly scheduled meeting as a public hearing, which could then be the first reading.
so you're talking about when?
It would have to be the special meeting, yes, so we can have a public input.
So why can't we do a study session again
Solely
2 weeks
dedicated?
from now? That would be the public
Yeah,
input.
whenever we want to schedule it, we could do that.
2 weeks from now, and then we can put this item on the agenda, and if we have significant changes that we have to, we can either table it or move forward with the draft.
Yeah, and the
agenda.
good thing about this is that when we pass the
So
rent
that's my
freeze
revised
this
motion.
evening,
Okay?
when we pass the rent freeze this evening, we don't have to rush, and that's the good thing about it. We can take our time and look at everything in detail, and that's why we need to pass the
Okay.
rent freeze tonight.
So there's a
All right,
revised.
so at this point, there's the motion. At this point,
Revised motion.
we're going to revise the actual original motion for the recommendations that were just mentioned by Councilman.
So bring it back
Hernandez.
So
So,
2
what we-
weeks
We're
as,
talking-
as a study session and a
Study.
public hearing.
Right.
If there's changes at that point, it could be, that public hearing could be carried over. If there's no changes, that
No,
could be.
I don't think we should have a public hearing, it's
So
just a
there'd be
study
a-
session.
It'd be a study session in 2 weeks / public comments as we normally do for any item that's available.
Okay.
We'll allocate as much time as needed for 5:30 for the presentation. We will have the draft ordinance that we have now on the agenda for that evening. If we have
Okay.
it, if we have the meeting in 2 weeks, if not, then it's,
Yeah, so they can have
So, and
time
then
to
we
read
can-
it and look at it.
yeah.
All right, that's fine. All
And then
right,
if
so,
there's not significant comments, we could potentially put it on
The
For a
next
second
one.
the December, no, that would be
No,
the
No,
no,
that would
first
not,
meeting.
no.
Would be at
In December.
If we have a meeting in 2 weeks.
We're just having a study session first.
Right, where we'll seek just input from the committee, really. And then at the 7 o'clock meeting, we will have this agendized for that meeting. If we decide as a council that we need to do a little bit more work, we will then make a motion to table it.
Mhm. And have
Or if
another
it's
study
not, then
session
we
if
can just move
necessary.
forward With it at that, and that would be the first study session in mid-November, and then the second one would be in December, and then it would be effective January 1st.
all right.
Hoping that everything gets put in place. So
So-
it's
Do we
just
have
a
to-
matter
So
of what happens at our study sessions, what information we're getting, whether we need more time or not. Again, we won't be in a rush because we have the time.
All right.
Study sessions in this room.
Yeah, let's do it.
Downstairs?
Let's do it
No.
at 3.
We
Let's
have
do
to
it.
do it
Let's do
down
it.
there.
Down there.
Yeah, let's
Down
just
there.
have it down. I think it's
Down there.
probably a lot easier for everyone. So this way, at least we'll get that through. All right. So at this point, any other questions?
And can we
Yes.
have that
What's
posted on the website
Oh, that's
and
right.
invite residents to come to that meeting or stakeholders to come to that?
All right. So at this point, there was a motion, a revised motion by Councilman Paul
Study
Hernandez
session.
for the study session.
Second.
Second. Any objections? So move. All right. All right. Thank you very much. We'll get that going. All right, so what we'll do, what's going on, Mark? Hey, Carrillo, what's up, bro? All right. Mr. Manny
We
Carrillo.
have 2 real quick workers' comp cases, and we have John Tharp here for that, if we can have him first in closed session.
Yes, so we have the, okay, all right, that's fine, that's fine. All right, so at this point, we'll ask people to vacate, we're gonna go into closed session.
Thank you.
Big was gonna be at 7 o'clock.